Welcome to today's webinar about the GDPR right to be forgotten and the subject access request. My name is Lisa Pulsinger. I'm business technology evangelist at Docs42, and together with Stewart, who is head of customer and partner success and TermSet, we will be guiding you today throughout the webinar. It's going to be 45 minutes packed full of information. The webinar will be recorded as well, so afterwards I will send the recording to you. If you have questions, please put them in the chat in the question section, and we will try at the end of the webinar to answer them as best as possible. So what is awaiting you today? A little bit of the agenda. At first, we will introduce ourselves so you can get an idea what Docs42 and what TermSet are doing. Then we will go into the challenge you're facing with GDPR, with the subject access request and the right to be forgotten. Then afterwards, the solution. Stewart will tell you more about the scanner solution, about TermSet. I will then give you a small Docs42 live demo before we will have a small summary on what we heard today, and then we will go over to the question and answer session. So Stewart, can you please tell us a bit more about TermSet?
Hi everyone, my name is Stewart Connors. I'm the CEO and co-founder of TermSet. We're a UK software company. We developed two software products that use forms of artificial intelligence based on machine learning. And those products are, our first product is a product called Scanner, which we'll come on to in the presentation today. This product is a software product, a low-cost software product that enables customers to become GDPR compliant, as it helps discover personal and sensitive information that are contained within your unstructured as well as structured documents which you store in your multiple systems. And it helps you automate the process and quickly respond to right to be forgotten or subject access requests. We also have another product which we call TagR. This is aimed at customers that have SharePoint. This product at a high level helps you automatically apply metadata and taxonomies to content and documents stored within SharePoint. This helps clients enrich the end user search experience and helps accelerate migrations to SharePoint 0365. But today I'll be talking about the Scanner product, not the TagR product. Thank you.
Thank you. Docs42, who are we? We are a software company based in Vienna with a tool for automating your document generation and integrating data from various sources. Our tool is known to be flexible, which is a very important thing, which I will mention to you many times today, because especially regarding the GDPR, this is a very important thing to have as a tool. A document, especially the subject access request, needs more than just text. It needs data, it needs table, it maybe needs some pictures to be inserted, and all of that is possible with Docs42. Down below on the slide, you can find a few logos. That's a few of our customers. We operate cross-vertical. That's because every company has to deal with documents, and almost everywhere there's a need for automating documents. Moving on to the challenge about the subject access request and the right to be forgotten. Stewart, can you please tell us more about the challenges?
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. If you can build out the deck for me. So guys, people on the call, most of you are aware of what GDPR stands for. The main feedback we get from customers about what's the challenge is obviously you have to put in place a process in May, which is all aimed at understanding your customers or employees' personal data. And that data could be things like their name, their address, financial details, medical information. And there's really kind of two things that really are keeping customers awake at night. The first thing is the subject access request. Now, although this is not a new process, it's been around for a long time. However, what's changing is, as of May, your response time will decrease from 40 days down to 30 days. So if you receive a request from somebody, your response time is a lot less than it was before. So that obviously presents a challenge. The other big challenge, the other big thing with GDPR is this new law called the right to be forgotten or right to be removed rule. This is new as part of GDPR, which starts in May, and this basically gives the ability for any of your employees, current or ex, or any customers, they have the ability now to request any information you hold on them electronically that identifies them as of any personal information, and they have the right to ask you to remove that information. Again, there are some strict processes around that, and there's a strict response time. I think it's now down to 30 days. So if you receive a right to be forgotten request, you have a short window of time to find the information, present it back to the person making the claim, and then remove that or redact that for that person. And if you don't respond to that request in the given time, that individual has the right to go to the independent body, the ICO, and that could potentially lead to a breach or a potential fine for you. So that's the real challenge that's facing a lot of our customers, that is they're worried about this new right to be forgotten removed rule. And then just talking through the slide, the next bullet point I talk about is about 80% of most employees, the information they create, the IP they create, they typically store in Office documents. And Office documents, by their nature, are typically unstructured. So you have lots of unstructured documents being created by your employees. And then those documents they create, they are storing that information in typically your IT approved systems, things like CRM, databases, document management systems like FileShares or SharePoint. But then also some employees, by the nature of the way they work, they may be also using what is called non-approved IT systems, so shadow IT, so systems like Dropbox or Google Drive. So what that means to you as an organization is you have lots of employees creating great content and collaborating well and increasing productivity. However, this information they're creating is stored in unstructured documents and could be stored in approved or non-approved IT systems. So again, that gives you a challenge. How do you find that data and how do you manage that data going forward? And then the last 3 bullet points on the slide talks about some report that was taken out last year, which talks about how you're seeing a lot of companies have received document breaches in the past 2 years. So before GDPR has even come into effect, you probably read in the press on a weekly basis, there are a number of companies across Europe that have been called out for exposing sensitive data accidentally. An interesting point on this slide is about 70% of employees are accidentally exposing data in their documents. So they're not doing it intentionally, they are exposing data without knowing by accident. And 60% of companies admitted they were unable to locate sensitive data. So if they were to receive a subject access request, they admit they would find it very, very hard to find that information. We had one client recently who received typically 2 or 3 requests a month, and it takes them 60 to 90 days to find the information and respond to a subject access request. Thanks, Lisa.
So the next challenge when it comes to the subject access request, so a customer and an employee or an ex-employee of you ask you to provide all the personal information that you have stored of him, you need to know what to put in one single document. So that's the next challenge. You need to include a copy of all the personal data processed. You need not only to say which data you're processing, but you also need to attach the copies. You need to attach the purposes of the processing, the Article 30, which is contained in the Article 30, which is the procedural directory, or for the ones who are listening and who are German speakers, the Verfahrensverzeichnis. You need to include the categories of the personal data concerned, the recipients to whom the personal data have been disclosed, the period for how long you may store the personal data, the right to request the rectification and the erasure of the data, the right to lodge a complaint with the ICO, as well as information to the source of the data. All of this needs to be included in one single document. You first of all need to make sure that you find all the information, and then you need to find a way on how to compile this one without having too much individual manual work. What you need to be very cautious about when it comes 25th of May, when the GDPR comes into place, it is essential that you answer the subject access request and the right to be forgotten correct and within the specified time frame. By now, probably all of you have heard that there will be very, very high penalties and very high fees, which can result up to millions of euros to pay if you cannot have supply the data within 30 days in a correct manner. You will need to be able to identify, retrieve, and document all the personal data you process of a subject. As Stewart mentioned before, not just in the official systems you're using, but also others such as Dropbox or maybe non-approved IT systems. This proves a real challenge. You need to include information that is relevant to other articles as well, like the procedural directory. So you need to make sure that the solutions or tools you're using can be integrated with each other. Also, the mass requests can occur unpredictably. As Stewart mentioned before, the example, this person receives two requests a month. They need 60 to 90 days to just gather the data. Imagine if your company is facing hundreds of requests. This can happen, and even without your fault. Like, for example, you are in the banking sector and one of your competitors is facing a data breach. It will be all over the internet that there are thousands of credit card numbers of their customers are online. Of course, there will be lots about it written in the media, and of course, people will be made aware that there's the subject access request, that people can request a copy of the data. So for sure, you will receive more requests as well, even though you did not anything wrong. And if you then have not automated your processes, it might look like this. As we don't want this to happen to you and not to anyone, we are presenting you our solutions with TermSet and Docs 42, how you can automate the process and answer the subject access request and right to be forgotten correct and within the specified time frame. Stewart, I'm giving the mic again to you.
Thanks, Lisa. Yes, so as I mentioned, TermSet, we're a UK software company, and we developed a product called Scanner. Scanner is a low-cost software product that you install locally within your firewall. It's not a cloud-based product; it's an on-premises software application that you install locally on your servers. And it basically discovers all your sensitive and personal identifiable information within all your documents that are stored within a number of systems, FileShares, SharePoint, O365, etc. Its purpose is to help clients automate the process and quickly respond to right to be forgotten and subject access requests. It's able to read all versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, and photocopies and images with emails and attachments. It's able to understand all global languages. So any document the language is written in, we're able to understand that language. It contains a comprehensive keyword rules engine library. You can also create your own keywords and edit the keywords. It includes forms of AI, which includes pattern matching. Again, I'll come on to this in the demonstration. The purpose of this is it helps you ensure keyword accuracy when you're running a scan. You can also score the words that you find, so you can score the sensitivity of words or phrases based on the level of exposure. When we come across an image or a PDF or a photocopy of a document, we will OCR that document. OCR means optical character recognition. So we're able to turn that picture into readable text, which means we can then pull out all the sensitive words in that document. So for example, if you have a photocopy of someone's passport, we'll OCR that passport and we're able to read out and pull out the passport number, the name, and all the associated dates. We're also able to, as we're looking into the file path and the document level, we're also able to identify and remove any duplicates that you may have in your systems, and also understand the file attributes. So we can tell you the size of data you have by the file or document size. Also able to tell you when a file was last accessed, viewed, or modified. So we can help you cleanse your data repository as well as your GDPR data discovery. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Then Docs42 comes into play. It's a document automation tool, and it helps you integrate all the information that you identified with Scanner, all the information you store in your system, to combine that into a comprehensive subject access request document, and also helps you automate the communication process. With just a few clicks, your subject access request document is created, which means your time in working on it, your time in fulfilling the time frames will be reduced heavily. And you can send it out directly to your data subject or to the authorities. Stewart, back to you.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, so this if you let the slide build, actually, Lisa, that'd be great. So this slide is just a picture of just really referring back to the product, how I described it. So this is a way to help you visualize Scanner. So as I mentioned, Scanner is a software product that you install on your servers within your firewall. It has the ability to connect to a multiple number of document management systems. So as you can see on the screen, we can connect to FileShares, we can connect to O365, to SharePoint, OneDrive. We're also now able to connect to emails and emails with attachments. So once we point Scanner to your repository, we're able to read all the documents in those repositories. So we can read any version of Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any version of PDF. If we come across an image or a photocopy, we can convert that to text and pull out the information from those images or photocopies. So we're able to scan and identify all the personal information for you if you receive a SAR request. We're able to report on it, and then we hand that information over to Docs42. And now Lisa will talk you through how they pick that up and present it back to you.
Exactly. So then the data is then provided to us by Scanner, usually in a CSV format, that then is integrated into a Docs42 template for the subject access request, and then automatically in your systems, like what I will show you later, it can either be your SharePoint or it can be your own front end, where it just with a few clicks can then generate the personalized subject access request with all the data that you identified with Scanner. Stewart, back to you.
Yeah, so just conscious of time, guys, but I want to give you a very quick high-level product demonstration. So I'll be using screenshots today, just conscious of your time. As a next step, if you want to learn more, we can present to you a more in-depth product demo. But basically, I want to show you how Scanner has been built so that any people within the business can use the product, not just IT. So Scanner does really two things. The first thing is you ask it where to read information, what systems you point it to, and then what are the keywords you want it to look for. So in this screenshot, we're showing you how Scanner is connected to a file share. So we're going to point Scanner to a file share folder. So you would enter the file path name where you want to scan, or choose it from your AD directory. Next slide, Lisa. So we now ask Scanner to point to a file share. The next thing is we want to now ask Scanner what are the key words, what are the sensitive words we want to look for in those documents in that file share. So if you imagine you've received a subject access request or right to be forgotten request, and you want to find all the personal information this person has asked you to look for in those documents in your file share. So here you can see our product ships with an extensive rules engine library. So we provide you with over 100 sensitive keywords that we've gathered from around the globe. And like any engine library, you simply highlight the words from the left to the right. So in this example, we're going to ask Scanner to look in those documents in the file shares for people's bank account numbers, any credit card numbers, people's names, credit card expiry dates, email addresses, postcodes, and UK street addresses. So we use this these list of words that we can look for. Next slide, Lisa. Not only do we ship with not only do we supply you with over 100 keywords, Scanner is you are also able to create your own keywords as well. So you may want to look for maybe documents that have customer reference numbers, or employee ID numbers, or student ID numbers. So you can now create your own keyword, because our keywords work on patterns, and we use a feature called pattern matching. So in this example on the screen, you can see we've chosen the word credit card. So we want to find credit card numbers in all our documents. And as you know, credit card numbers always have 16 numbers on the credit card, and they are typically 4 numbers, space, 4 numbers, space, 4 numbers. So we're now able to enter our own keywords as well as standard keywords. Also in the top right, you see where it says rule weight. We're also able to associate a weight or a score based on the keywords that we find. So you may say, every time we find documents with Lisa's name in them, for a name we'll score it 10 points. If we find her credit card number, another 10 points, and maybe her date of birth or medical records, another 10 points each. So we're able to apply certain rules and weights to certain words that we find in the documents. Next slide, please, Lisa. So we've now asked Scanner to point to a file share. We've chosen some keywords to look for. We've also created some of our own keywords, and now we hit scan. So Scanner goes away, interrogates all the documents, and we get this result back. We now get a high-level overview of the documents that we found that contain keywords and the values. We can also see some of the scoring based on the weights that we asked to look for. And if we click on one of these actual reports, hit the next slide, Lisa, we can now drill into the information that we've managed to obtain on the scan. So in this example, we're saying we found a document. We know that it found someone's credit card number twice. It found the CVV number, the 3 numbers on the back of the credit card, twice in the document, and it also found the individual's credit card expiry date twice in the document. And you can see on the far right, we have the scoring system. So we've attributed a score of 10 points to each information that we found in that document. And then on the next slide, you can see that we're now able to ingest the reports that we find into a series of reporting mechanisms. So we're able to ingest the reports into Excel. So here we're seeing an Excel spreadsheet. So we are now able to take those Excel spreadsheets, look at the data that we found, and then we now integrate this into the Docs 42 solution to complete the process.
Thank you, Stuart. I will now continue with the process, and I will show you how a subject access request document generation can look like with Docs 42. So basically, this is how it could look like, where you could generate your documents. This could be your own system. This could be your own layout. This is just an example of where you can generate it. Let's say you received a request today for a subject access request, and we want to have it back as a PDF. So like Angela Smith sent you an email that she wants to have the information which you stored about her. In the background, we ran the scanner, and we identified all her information. Here, you would have a list of your customers, for example. This is Angela Smith. And then you also need to say, okay, for which person you want to retrieve the data for. You need to put in a name again, because Angela Smith could request a document on the behalf of someone else. For example, Angela Smith is the mother of someone, and then she requested for her child. But in this case, it's for her. We also given her email address, so that the system knows for which email to look, and also the location where she's based. This is important to identify, for example, the recipients of her data, as for example, if she was based in Austria, other banks would receive her information than if she was based in the UK. We hit on yes, and then the Docs42 server generates the document in the background. It's already here, and we have the ready document here. As you can see, this is subject access report about the information of Angela Smith. It says that we have received her request today, and here is the results which we identified with Scanner. Like, for example, the credit card information. It says like all her data we found in the document, her credit card numbers, the expiry date, and so on. Then here you can see the purposes of the processing. This is coming from the procedural directory. I know that a lot of you are taking it on with SharePoint. You have a SharePoint application where you do this, and you can also integrate your data from there. Here you see the recipients. You see the required period for how long the personal data has to be stored. And back here in the attachment, we can see the email that Angela Smith has sent to see her personal information. Here in the attachment, you could attach all the personal data you are seeing. This is how the ready-made document looks like, but how does it look like when you set up such a template? I will show you here in Word. So basically, Docs42 is a Word add-on. You can see the ribbon here. This is like an extra ribbon which you can see. And here you see the document again, just without the necessary information that's filled in, but with a lot of blue fields. I will, before I explain something more, I will quickly generate the document so that we see this is exactly the same things I put in. It's just to see a comparison side by side. So I will then view this side by side, and you can see this was the template, and here the data was filled in. If we go down a little bit, we can see this is a dynamic column. Here it's just one column, and then here it expands until all the data is found that is put in. Here I have it in here, the procedure directly statically, but you could also integrate this one from your SharePoint or of any of the other sources you're using for it. The recipients category, and here if we look in the attachments, we have just one data field which then integrated all of the email of Angela Smith. I'm gonna show you a little bit bigger how the template looks like. So actually, how do you get the blue data fields in? This is very easy. You just double click on one of the fields, or you click here and insert data field. And then you can, by double click or by drag and drop, you can easily put in the data fields you require for your documents. So it's a really easy and flexible integration, which also your data protection officer could design, or maybe a lawyer you're working with, to make sure that you have a template which includes all the information you need to have in. You would also see all your different data sources. Right now here we are working with CSV and Excel files, but it could also be SharePoint or others. Coming back to the presentation, a little bit more about which data you can integrate from which sources. So the one source is the scanner source, which is very important to identify and give out all the personal data you're storing. But as you saw, you might need to be able, you might need to put in some other data, like the recipients, which you might have stored in SharePoint or somewhere else. So you are able to put in data without programming from your SharePoint, from web services, from your database, from your SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, and other custom data sources if you're using more systems. Also, another form of the automation which is offered to you with Docs 42 is how you can communicate the subject access request. Like I have now generated the PDF and I have also generated the Word locally. What you could also do is you say when you hit the generate button, a PDF document is generated. Also, an email body is generated and the email is directly sent out to the subject request or to the authorities with the PDF of the subject access request document in attachment. This also helps you to speed up the process here. That was an overview of the solutions. I will now go over to the summary. So basically, what have we heard in the last 35 minutes? With the scanner and Docs 42, you can automate the processes for discovering and reporting the sensitive information, and you can quickly respond to the subject access request and the right to be forgotten. With the automation, you can therefore make sure that you are able to fulfill the 30-day timeline, which is given by the authorities for the GDPR documents. It helps, so the ICO in the UK has given out 12 steps which you need to take now in order to be GDPR compliant, and TermSet and Docs 42 help you to comply with at least 2 of those, and also to comply with 13 of the 99 articles which are coming into the effect on the 25th of May 2018. It provides you flexibility, which is very important due to 2 reasons. First of all, the data integration. Of course, your system architecture will change, your file shares might change, your employees might continue using the Dropbox, even though it's not officially used in the company. Just because GDPR is coming into effect, your employees will not change how they work. Scanner helps you to identify all of the data regardless where it is saved and regardless of which keywords you're using. As Stewart told you, you can also identify your own keywords. And Docs 42 helps you to integrate other data as well, which is necessary for the subject access request. Flexibility as well is very important, as the 25th of May is not here yet, so we don't have best practices yet, and the templates and which data we may need to provide and the documents, they may change. So it's very important to be flexible in this one, so that your data protection officer, which is on top of those topics, who knows exactly what needs to be done, what needs to be provided, can generate such a document by himself. Even you could also, if you're working together with a lawyer or a legal firm on this one, you could give a template to them so that they can design what exactly needs to be in there. Include the data from all sources. Then GDPR might have different requirements. So far it says if the subject access request asks for the data in an electronic fashion, you need to also provide the document electronically. This might change. It might be more strict that you need to send it exactly via email or in a PDF. And with the solutions, you have the freedom to flexibly adjust your output formats. And also Docs 42, you can not only use it for the GDPR, but if you have it in use, you can use it for any other documents you want to automate in your company as well, such as, for example, other legal documents, contracts, or offers or orders. Before we go over to the question and answer session, we have a few minutes left, not too many. Here are the next steps from our side. So if today was of interest for you, you can contact us anytime for a discussion about your requirements. We can give you a more in-depth online demonstration tailored to you of our two solutions, how you could use it with your systems. And you can also download the free trial. On Docs 42, there's also the template, which I showed you today, is available. So you can use that one as well to start and to try generating a document. So then next step is the question and answer session. I'm going to have a look if we already have a few questions coming in. We have a question for you, Stewart. Someone is asking about the licensing of Scanner. Can you give more information, Stewart?
Yes, of course. Also, you can find all our pricing on our website, but quite simply, we license on the amount of data the documents are stored in that you want to scan. Unlimited users, it's an annual license, so you need to confirm roughly how many documents you have or how many terabytes of documents you have in your FileShare or your SharePoint system. And then we would license you based on that number. It's an annual license, and you can run unlimited scans in that year. So, for example, if you have 1 million documents, which is roughly about 1 terabyte, there's a license fee for that, and you can scan those documents as many times as you want in that 12-month term. The license includes support and maintenance. There's no infrastructure needed. The application you install locally. There's no need to buy any hardware or infrastructure, and it's unlimited users. I hope that answers your question, but like I said, all pricing information you can find on our website, and you'll see on our website the pricing is broken into companies, whether they're small, medium or large. Like any software, the more licenses you buy, the more discount kicks in.
Thank you, Stewart. There is another question for you. Presume on Scanner we can do an AND clause, so I can look for any credit card number, but only for Mr. Joe Smith, for example.
The answer is yes. Just conscious that in the short time we had, I gave you a very quick high-level demo. I'm obviously very happy to deliver a more detailed deep dive demo to anybody interested. We also have a demo video on our website, but to answer your question, yes, you can say, well, let me find all the documents that only have Lisa's name and Lisa's credit card in them, and ignore everybody else's credit card numbers and other people's names.
Mm-hmm. Then I have a question. Another one is, can I use the same license for different scenarios too? For Docs 42, yes. If you have Docs 42 in use for your GDPR, you can also use it for any other documents you want to generate and you want to automate. Then, Stewart, another question for you. Can Scanner search also for digital signatures? Like in Austria, there's a mobile signature where you sign documents via your mobile phone.
We have not done that before. I don't know is the answer. I'm not quite sure. I would need to maybe take that offline with the person asking the question just to understand that in more detail. If we could tag that, give it a certain pattern. So for example, if we said every time we saw this image, which is a digital signature, and it conforms to this pattern, then the answer is yes. But maybe we could take that offline, please. I could arrange for my technical person to speak with this individual and just find out a bit more detail, and maybe trial that out as a proof of concept, how we can do that for you.
Thank you. So there are a few more questions coming in. To be conscious of time, as we are officially ending in 2 minutes, I will answer.
I'm happy to hang on, Lisa, to answer the questions. I'm happy to hang on.
Okay.
To help you.
Good. So another question is, does the data you want to include have to be in a certain format? So Stewart, the data you're providing is in CSV format for the export.
Yes, I don't want to get too technical today, but basically what happens is when we scan the documents, the information comes back into a SQL CE database. That's a free database that we provide with our product. And that database, you're then able to move that data into a CSV file format, or you can put it into an Excel spreadsheet, or you can put it into a business intelligence dashboard. So if you're a customer of Microsoft Power BI or Click or any other BI tool, you're able to ingest our reports into those dashboards, and you can then visualize the information and then slice and dice and data mine that based on your tool set. So yes, you can use any file format to ingest the reports into your, if you love Excel, you can use Excel. If you love using Power BI or Click or any other BI tool, we can ingest those reports into those dashboards or spreadsheets or CSV files.
And also regarding Docs42, as I showed you a slide before, there are many different output formats we are serving. So there's you can operate very flexible. Regarding that, there was another question that came in. Do you plan any connection in form of a data source between TermSet and Docs42 instead of the use of the Excel data source? To have a standard data source with TermSet and Docs42 is not planned for the moment. However, as we just mentioned, there is a various use of data sources which you can use. There's the custom data source as well. So if there's a special case we need to take on, we can have a look at the special data source like that. All right. That's all the questions for now. If you have any more, there was another question that just came in. I will give you 1 more minute to put your question in, and then I think we will end for today. The question that came in between, is email in Outlook Exchange just considered the part of your overall storage for Scanner?
So we are able to read for sensitive data in emails and attachments. I think that's probably the question. So we are building a connector for email that'll be available next few weeks. So yes, we are able to connect and read emails and the attachments. We're also able to read PST files. We're also able to read zip files as well. We obviously can't read encrypted files. So if you run a scan and we come across any encrypted files, we'll tell you the ones that are encrypted. But obviously, unless you give us permission, we can't access those encrypted files. That's the answer to that question. I think that was the question, was can we connect to emails and attachments? Yes,
I think so. Good. I think that's all of the questions that were stated here. From my side, I say thank you very much. Thank you for coming here today, for asking many questions. for taking your time, and I look forward to assisting you with more questions you may have, and wish you a great day still. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.